Principal researcher Zyralden's crystalline form sparkled with frustration as another set of readings from testing chamber Alpha 7 defied explanation. The Galactic Science Institute's most advanced research facility had seen countless mysteries in its 300 cycles of operation, but nothing like this. Run the analysis again, Zyralden commanded, their crystalline structure vibrating with tension. The junior researcher, Nex 8, whose plasma-based form swirled anxiously within its containment field, immediately began recalibrating the quantum sensors. The testing chamber had started as a routine addition to the facility's experimental wing. A simple 50-meter cube of standard durasteel and energy fields, designed to test new environmental control systems. But 3 days ago, something had gone terribly wrong, or perhaps terribly right, depending on one's perspective on scientific discoveries. Principal researcher, Nex 8's voice crackled through the communication field, the readings remain consistent. The chamber is simultaneously experiencing absolute zero temperatures and plasma-level heat. The gravity fluctuates between 20 times standard and complete weightlessness. The radiation levels. They paused, double-checking the instruments. They shouldn't be possible without reality itself breaking down. Zyralden floated closer to the observation window, their crystalline structure refracting the harsh laboratory lights. The chamber looked deceptively ordinary, empty, sterile, and harmless. Yet in the past 72 hours, it had destroyed 17 different types of testing drones, disintegrated 3 of the most advanced environmental suits in the galaxy, and reduced a Vardaxian battle form, capable of surviving in the heart of a star, into its component atoms. Report from the Theoretical Physics Division, announced senior researcher Clicks, their insectoid form skittering into the observation room. They believe we've accidentally created a nexus point where multiple universal constants have become uncertain. The mathematics suggest it shouldn't be stable for more than a few microseconds, yet here we are, 3 days later. The facility's warning systems suddenly blared to life, their urgent tones cutting through the scientific discussion. Unauthorized entity approaching testing chamber Alpha 7, the AI announced with mechanical calm. Security protocols initiated. Zyralden's crystal structure nearly shattered in shock as they watched the security feed. A bipedal figure in a simple maintenance uniform was walking directly toward the chamber, whistling some strange tune and consulting a handheld device. Identity confirmed, James Walker, Human, Maintenance Division, the AI continued. Warning, subject lacks clearance for current location. Stop them. Clicks chittered in panic, their mandibles clicking rapidly. The chamber will. But before anyone could react, James Walker had already pressed his thumb to the chamber's entry panel. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Hey there, James called out, waving at the security camera. Got a work order about some environmental control issues in here. Something about temperature regulation. The assembled alien scientists watched in horror as the human casually stepped into what they had dubbed the everything killer. Their horror turned to disbelief as James proceeded to walk through the chamber, occasionally stopping to check readings on his maintenance tablet. Bit chilly in here, he commented over the comm system. And is it just me, or is the gravity acting up? Might need to recalibrate the whole system. Also, you've got some weird radiation readings, might want to get that checked out. Zyralden's crystalline form vibrated at a frequency that threatened to shatter every piece of glassware in the observation room. They watched as James Walker, member of a species that had achieved faster-than-light travel barely 50 years ago, strolled through conditions that had destroyed the most advanced protection systems in the galaxy. The human emerged from the other side of the chamber, making notes on his tablet. Okay, so we've got multiple system failures here. Environmental controls are all over the place. I can put in a work order for a complete overhaul, but it might take a few days to get the parts. Want me to set up some temporary stabilizers in the meantime? The silence in the observation room was absolute. 3 of the galaxy's most advanced species, crystalline, plasma, and insectoid, stared at the human who had just casually defied everything they thought they knew about physics and biology. Fascinating, clicks finally managed to click out. Simply fascinating. Indeed, Zyril then agreed, their crystal structure now vibrating with scientific excitement rather than horror. Contact the Xenobiology division immediately. I believe we need to reassess everything we think we know about humans and their capabilities. James Walker, meanwhile, continued making notes on his tablet, completely unaware that he had just appended 3 centuries of established galactic science. Oh, and your AC unit could use a cleaning too. These things get pretty dusty if you don't maintain them regularly. The Galactic Science Institute's medical bay had never been so crowded. Representatives from 12 different species crammed into the observation room, their varied forms creating a living rainbow of bioluminescence, crystalline structures, and ethereal gases. All of them focused intently on the human sitting on an examination table, cheerfully eating something he called a sandwich. James Walker had no idea he was currently the most studied being in the facility. He thought he was just getting a routine medical checkup after his work in that faulty, environmental chamber. The truth was far more extraordinary. Impossible, muttered Chief Medical Officer Vrantix, their gelatinous form rippling with confusion as they studied the medical scans. Their internal temperature regulation system is, primitive doesn't begin to describe it. They pump a saline solution through their bodies and release excess heat through evaporation. Yet it works better than our best thermal regulation technology, noted researcher clicks, their antennae twitching with excitement. Look at these readings from the chamber. The human's core temperature barely fluctuated despite experiencing conditions that should have flash frozen and vapor locked them simultaneously. Principal researcher Zyril then's crystalline form hummed thoughtfully as they reviewed the data. Their skeletal structure is equally fascinating. Calcium-based support struts reinforced with organic fibers. By all rights, it should be incredibly fragile. Instead, it's proven more resilient than Thoraxian battle armor. James took another bite of his sandwich, completely oblivious to the revolutionary discoveries being made about his species' biology. He was more concerned about finishing his lunch break on time. He still had 3 more maintenance requests to handle before his shift ended. The most intriguing aspect, Vrantix continued, is their cellular repair mechanism. Look at this. They projected a holographic display showing human cellular structure. Their bodies are constantly breaking down and rebuilding themselves. They don't just adapt to environmental stresses, they get stronger from them. The assembled scientists watched as James casually crushed an aluminum can with one hand, a feat that would have required significant technological assistance for most species. The human's muscles, built through what they called exercise, demonstrated strength far beyond what their relatively simple biological structure should allow. We need to understand more, Zyril then decided. But we must be careful. If we reveal too much about what happened in testing chamber Alpha 7, we might frighten them. Or worse, make them aware of capabilities they haven't fully realized yet. Just then, the facility's emergency alarms began blaring. A holographic display materialized in the center of the room, showing rapidly scrolling data in multiple alien scripts. Critical failure in containment wing beta, announced the AI system. Multiple breaches detected in experimental quantum field generators. Caustic atmosphere spreading through levels 15 through 18. All personnel evacuate immediately. The scientists erupted into panic. The quantum field generators were experimental technology designed to contain some of the most dangerous substances known to galactic science. If they failed completely. Has anyone seen my tablet? James called out, standing up from the examination table. Got a notification about some maintenance emergency in Wing Beta. Sounds like those new generators are acting up again. Zyril then's crystalline form pulsed with alarm. You cannot go there. The atmospheric contamination alone would dissolve most environmental suits. The radiation levels. Yeah, probably pretty bad, James agreed, locating his tablet under a stack of alien medical instruments. But someone's got to fix it before it gets worse, right? Besides, I've worked with quantum field generators before. Tricky things, but once you understand the basic principles. The assembled scientists watched in stunned silence as James Walker, armed with nothing more than a standard-issue maintenance toolkit and what he called common sense, headed toward a disaster zone that would kill most sentient beings in seconds. Should we stop him? Clicks asked, mandibles clicking nervously. No, Zyril then decided, their crystalline structure vibrating with scientific curiosity. But activate all monitoring systems. I want every detail of how a human survives conditions that our most advanced technology cannot handle. And they added as an afterthought, prepare medical emergency protocols. Just in case we're wrong about their capabilities. As James disappeared into the turbolift, humming what he called an bold work song, the aliens began frantically coordinating their observation efforts. None of them noticed the small smile on the human's face, the kind of smile that suggested he knew more about his species' reputation than he let on. The mysteries of human biology were about to reveal themselves in ways that would reshape galactic science forever. And James Walker, maintenance technician extraordinaire, was just getting started. The Emergency Control Center of the Galactic Science Institute buzzed with frantic activity as dozens of holographic displays tracked the growing crisis in Containment Wing Beta. The quantum field generator failure had escalated beyond anyone's worst predictions, creating a cascading series of catastrophic reactions throughout the facility's most dangerous research section. Status update, demanded Facility Director Omnirex, their energy form crackling with concern as they materialized in the center of the room. The human has reached level 16, reported Clicks, manipulating multiple holographic controls with their segmented limbs. Atmospheric contamination at that level is, by the void, these readings can't be right. Zyril then's crystalline form shifted closer to the displays. They are correct. The quantum field collapse has created a hybrid atmosphere of multiple toxic compounds. The temperature is fluctuating between extreme ranges, and the radiation levels. They paused, double-checking the data. The radiation levels are beyond our ability to measure. On the main screen, they watched as James Walker navigated through corridors that should have been utterly lethal. His maintenance suit, a simple design that most species wouldn't trust for basic vacuum work, somehow maintained its integrity despite conditions that would have destroyed the most advanced environmental protection systems in the galaxy. Okay, I think I see the problem, James's voice crackled through the emergency channel. Your quantum field generators are experiencing harmonic resonance cascade. Pretty basic issue, actually. Happens all the time with these models. Basic issue, spluttered Chief Engineer Trix Na, their plasma form swirling with indignation. That's bleeding-edge technology. The most advanced minds in the galaxy spent decades developing those containment systems. Yeah, but you've got them calibrated for stable spacetime conditions, James replied, the sound of tools clinking in the background. Earth's got all sorts of weird quantum fluctuations thanks to our moon's gravitational effects. We figured out these kinds of fixes pretty early on. The assembled aliens watched in amazement as James began making adjustments to systems that most species needed advanced degrees just to understand. His movements were confident, almost casual, as if he were performing routine maintenance rather than preventing a catastrophic breach that could vaporize half the facility. The human's vital signs are interesting, reported Medical Officer Vrantix, studying biological data streaming from James's suit sensors. Their adrenaline levels are elevated, suggesting they recognize the danger, but their stress hormones are remarkably stable. It's as if their body is designed to function optimally under conditions that would cause most species to shut down in panic. That tracks with what we've learned about their homeworld, Clicks interjected, pulling up data on Earth. Multiple predator species, extreme weather variations, constant tectonic activity, and regular exposure to solar radiation. Their entire evolutionary history is one long series of survival challenges. Fascinating, murmured Director Omnirex. We've been approaching human integration into galactic society all wrong. We thought we needed to protect them, to help them cope with advanced technology. But perhaps a sudden surge in the emergency readings interrupted their speculation. The quantum field fluctuations had reached critical levels, threatening to tear apart the very fabric of spacetime within the containment wing. James, Zyril then called out urgently, "You need to evacuate immediately. The field collapse is accelerating beyond safe parameters." "Just about done, actually," came the surprisingly cheerful reply. "Had to reconfigure the quantum harmonics to match Earth normal fluctuation patterns. Your systems were trying too hard to maintain perfect stability. Sometimes you need to work with the chaos rather than against it." As they watched in disbelief, the emergency readings began to stabilize. The toxic atmosphere started to dissipate, and the radiation levels dropped to manageable levels. The quantum field generators, rather than fighting against the natural variations in spacetime, now pulsed in a complex but stable rhythm that somehow accommodated and channeled the chaos. "There we go," James announced, packing up his tools. "Should be good now. Might want to update your maintenance protocols, though. These systems need regular recalibration to prevent resonance buildups." Director Omnirex's energy form pulsed with something between awe and amusement. "Mr. Walker, you do realize you just casually solved a problem that has plagued our best scientists for generations? The ability to maintain stable quantum fields in variable conditions could revolutionize everything from space travel to energy production." "Oh." James sounded genuinely surprised. "I just figured since it worked for the generators back home, it might help here too. Speaking of which, my shift's almost over, but I noticed your artificial gravity systems could use some tweaking. Want me to take a look at those tomorrow?" The control room erupted in a cacophony of alien languages as scientists and engineers tried to process what they'd just witnessed. Through it all, James Walker made his way back to the maintenance bay, looking forward to what humans called a coffee break, yet another mystery of their species that the galaxy had yet to understand. The Galactic Science Institute's primary conference chamber had never hosted such a diverse gathering. Representatives from 27 different species filled the vast room, their varied forms creating a living mosaic of evolutionary paths. They had all come for one reason: to witness the presentation on human biological capabilities and their implications for galactic science. Principal researcher Zyril then's crystalline form sparkled under the chamber's lights as they addressed the assembled crowd. "What you're about to see will challenge everything we thought we knew about biological adaptation and technological development." The holographic display activated, showing footage from testing chamber Alpha 7 and the quantum field generator crisis. But before Zyril then could continue, emergency alerts blared throughout the facility. "Critical anomaly detected in the dimensional research sector," announced the AI system. "Unknown entity breaching containment. All personnel evacuate immediately." Director Omnirex's energy form crackled with alarm. "Impossible. The dimensional research sector has enough safeguards to contain a supernova." The main display switched to security feeds, showing a writhing mass of impossible geometries seeping through the facility's walls. Where it touched, reality itself seemed to warp and bend. "By the void," whispered clicks, their mandibles clicking rapidly. "The quantum field adjustments we made after the generator crisis, they must have created a resonance with the dimensional barrier experiments." "Can we contain it?" demanded Vrantix, their gelatinous form rippling with anxiety. "Negative," reported the AI. "Entity exists in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Standard containment protocols ineffective." Just then, James Walker's voice came over the emergency channel. "Hey, got another maintenance alert. Something about dimensional anomalies. Heading there now." "No," shouted several alien scientists simultaneously. "This is beyond even human capabilities." But James was already making his way through the facility, toolkit in hand. The assembled scientists watched in horror and fascination as he approached the dimensional breach. "Interesting," he muttered, studying the writhing anomaly. Reminds me of this weird stuff we found in the Mariana Trench back on Earth. Had to jury-rig a containment field using deep-sea pressure principles. What happened next would be debated in scientific circles for centuries. James began combining seemingly unrelated pieces of equipment, parts from the quantum field generators, components from the facility's artificial gravity systems, and even his own tablet computer. The human is creating some sort of hybrid containment system, observed Clicks in amazement. They're using principles from deep-sea pressure mechanics to contain a multidimensional entity. But that's not possible, protested a quantum physics specialist. You can't apply three-dimensional physical principles to extra-dimensional. They fell silent as James's makeshift device hummed to life. The dimensional anomaly, which had resisted the most advanced containment technology in the galaxy, began to stabilize. There we go, James announced, adjusting some settings on his tablet. Used Earth's oceanic pressure gradients as a model. Figure if it can contain stuff at the bottom of our oceans, it might work here. The physics are different, sure, but pressure is pressure, right? The assembled scientists stared in stunned silence as the impossible became reality. James had not only contained the anomaly but had done so using principles that no advanced species had ever considered applying to dimensional physics. Mr. Walker, Director Omnirex's energy form pulsed with intense curiosity. How did you know this would work? James shrugged, already packing up his tools. Well, when you grow up on a planet where the deep ocean is basically alien territory, you learn to think creatively about containment. Plus, the pressure at those depths does weird things to space-time anyway. Figured it was worth a shot. As the crisis subsided, Zyralden's crystalline form vibrated with revelation. We've been approaching this all wrong, they announced to the gathered scientists. We've spent millennia trying to perfect our technology, to master the forces of nature. But humans have evolved to work with chaos, to adapt to it, to use it. The ultimate test subjects turned out to be the ultimate teachers, Clicks agreed, their antennae twitching thoughtfully. Meanwhile, James checked his tablet again. Got time for one more call before lunch. Someone reported flickering lights in the cafeteria. Probably just a power coupling issue, but better check it out. As he walked away, whistling that same mysterious tune, the gathered representatives of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations began to realize something profound. Perhaps the path to truly advanced science wasn't about achieving perfect control, but about learning to dance with chaos itself. And humans, it seemed, were born knowing the steps. 1 month after the dimensional anomaly incident, the Galactic Science Institute had undergone a transformation that went far beyond its physical restructuring. The once pristine corridors now featured what James called redundancy systems, seemingly crude but remarkably effective backup measures inspired by human engineering principles. Director Omnirex stood before the Galactic Science Council, their energy form steady and confident as they presented their revolutionary proposal. Distinguished members of the Council, the events at our facility have fundamentally changed our understanding of not just human capabilities, but of scientific advancement itself. The holographic displays showed footage from the past month, James Walker's casual stroll through the deadly testing chamber Alpha 7, his intuitive solution to the quantum field crisis, and his unprecedented containment of the dimensional anomaly. For millennia, Omnirex continued, we've pursued scientific advancement through perfect control and predictability. We built our research facilities to eliminate variables, to master nature itself. But we were wrong. Murmurs rippled through the assembled council members, their varied forms expressing everything from skepticism to intense curiosity. The human approach, what they call practical engineering, has shown us a different path. They don't try to eliminate chaos, they work with it. They don't seek perfect solutions, they find adaptable ones. Zyralden's crystalline form sparkled as they stepped forward to present the biological data. Consider their evolutionary history. Earth isn't just what we classified as a death world, it's a planet of constant change. Humans evolved not to master their environment, but to adapt to it. Their very cells are designed to become stronger when stressed. Which explains, added clicks, their mandibles clicking excitedly, why our most lethal research chamber felt to them like, as Mr. Walker put it, a bit stuffy. What we saw as deadly environmental extremes, they experienced as minor inconveniences. Throughout the facility, changes were already taking place. Research teams now included human consultants, not as test subjects but as advisors. Their perspective on dealing with unpredictable situations had proven invaluable across multiple fields. But the most remarkable discovery, Vrantix's gelatinous form rippled as they spoke, isn't just their physical capabilities. It's their problem-solving approach. Humans instinctively look for connections between seemingly unrelated phenomena. Who else would think to use deep-sea pressure principles to contain a dimensional breach? Meanwhile, in the facility's maintenance bay, James Walker was training a group of alien technicians. The scene would have been unimaginable just a month ago, representatives of supposedly more advanced species eagerly learning from a human maintenance worker. Remember, James explained, showing them how to modify a standard power coupling. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. You don't always need a quantum field generator when a good old-fashioned pressure valve will do the trick. Back in the council chamber, Director Omnirex reached the conclusion of their presentation. We propose not just a revolution in our scientific methodology, but in our entire approach to galactic civilization. Humans aren't primitive beings needing our guidance, they're invaluable partners who can teach us to see the universe in a new way. The council's deliberation was interrupted by an alert from James's training session. He had just demonstrated how to contain a plasma leak using nothing but modified kitchen equipment and what he called common-sense physics. I move to officially reclassify humans, announced the council's senior member, their ancient quantum form pulsing with conviction. They are no longer to be categorized as an emerging species requiring protection, but as full partners in galactic scientific advancement. The vote was unanimous. In the maintenance bay, oblivious to the historic decision being made, James finished his demonstration. And that's basically it, he said, wiping his hands on his coveralls. Once you understand the principles, it's not about having the fanciest equipment. It's about working with what you've got and not being afraid to try new approaches. An alien trainee raised an appendage. But how do you know when to use advanced technology and when to use, what did you call it? The duct tape solution. James grinned. That's the fun part, you try things out. Sure, sometimes they don't work, but that's how you learn. Back on Earth, we have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. When you're dealing with a planet that's constantly trying to kill you, you get pretty good at improvising. As the day ended, James headed home, another routine day of maintenance work complete. He had no idea that his simple approaches to complex problems had sparked a revolution in galactic scientific thinking. To him, it was just another day on the job. But across the galaxy, everything was changing. Research facilities began incorporating human-inspired, chaos adaptation principles. Educational institutions started teaching Earth-style problem-solving, alongside traditional methodologies. And throughout it all, the galaxy's most advanced species found themselves learning valuable lessons from a species that had barely mastered faster-than-light travel. The universe, it seemed, had a sense of humor after all.